Okay, welcome back. So in this one, we are going to look at the difference of two squares. We've been factorizing, and what we did was we started with the highest common factor. Then we looking at if it's just a binomial versus taking out the bracket. After that, we looked at the change sign rule, and then we looked at grouping in pairs. Now we're at number 4, factorizing dots. Now let's start with a simple question. So what would happen if we had a question like a to the power 4 minus 81? You know that you can rewrite this as a squared to the power of 2. So what did I do? I split that 4 into 2 times 2. And then I said minus 9 to the power of 2. What do you have? You have a difference. The difference refers to the minus sign. And then this is 1 squared, and that's another. So you have 2 square numbers. You have a difference of 2 square numbers. So to factorize this, we are going to end up with 2 brackets. In the first bracket, you have a plus. In the second, the minus. Remember, it doesn't matter if the minus comes first or if the plus comes first. You are going to take this number here and place it in the first bracket, a squared, and then you take the second one without the square sign and place it in the second bracket. Let's remove that. So that becomes 9. Now you are going to want to stop there. You are going to think, yay, this is done. But you know it's not, right? Because, okay, the first one is finished. That one, we can't do anything anymore. But on this one, I have a difference. And now I want to see I have 1 square. Is that a square number? Let's check. Yes, it is. A squared plus 9 multiplied by a squared minus 3 squared. Oh, I have a difference of 2 squares. Dots, right? So now I can factorize that one. So my first bracket stays the same. And that one I can't do anything to. But in the second one, I have 2 brackets with a plus and a minus. And the a goes in there as a without the square sign. And the 3 goes there as 3 without the square sign. That is how I do dots. So that was an easy example. What I need to emphasize is sometimes dots is just 2 brackets, and sometimes dots ends up being 3 brackets. Could be more, right? Always check if you are done. Now let's do a more difficult example. What would happen if we had a minus sign? So let's say we had negative 8b to the power 5. Oh, yo, Mrs. Venti, what are you doing now? Plus 32b. Now, what are you going to do here? I suggest that you start with a change sign rule, because normally when we do dots, we want to put it in the center, right? So I would want to do that first. So I take out the minus sign, which means that what's left inside is positive 8b5 minus 32b. This over here was the change sign rule, because I created brackets and I changed 1, 2. So I changed the outside and the inside and the inside. So I changed 3 signs. Okay, once I've done that, I've done the change sign rule. Now I'm going to take out the highest common factor. So 32 is actually, okay, let's rewrite it. I can rewrite this as negative 8b. So there's b to the power 1 there, right? So I take 1 out and I'm left with 4 minus, I think it's 4 times 8, b to the power 1. So now I can take out factors that are common. And the first one I see is there's an 8 that's in common. So I'm going to take the 8 out. And the second one that I see that's common is going to be b to the power of 1, b to the power of 1. I take that out as well. So I have negative on the outside, 8 b, and I'm left with b4 minus 4. And that is where I'm at. Again, you're going to want to stop there. But at this point, I need you to check this bracket. You have a difference. Minus sign, yes. 2 squares, question mark. So let's rewrite it to see if I have 2 squares. Minus 8b, b. Now what do? I'm going to say 4 divided by 2. That's b squared to the power of 2. Okay, I don't need this bracket there. So b squared squared, yes, minus 2 squared. Oh yes, I have a difference of 2 squares. I have dots. Okay, so now I can factorize that bracket by saying negative 8b, and in dots I have 2 brackets with a plus and a minus, b squared here, b squared there. That gives me b to the power of 4, and 2 gives me b to the power of 2, or 2 to the power of 2. Am I done yet? Very good question. Did you check? Did you check? Did you check? Okay, that is a positive sign, so I'm done with that one. That is a negative sign. Okay, do I have dots? Question mark. I have difference. Do I have 2 squares? This is 1 square, but that's to the power of 1. So no, 2 squares I do not have, so I am done. That's as simple as it gets. There's your final answer. That is how you do dots. Okay, now let's talk about trinomial factorization. Oh, this is the long one. Okay, so number 5, we are going to look at how to factorize a trinomial. What does this mean? It means I'm going to give you 3 terms and I want you to produce 2 brackets. In other words, normally you would use FOIL to go that way. Now I want you to do the opposite of FOIL. Okay, so let's start with a question. What if I gave you, what should we do? Let's say x squared minus 5x minus 24. I want you to give me 2 brackets. And then eventually I want you to tell me what each one, how does it factorize, right? So I don't know if you remember the steps, but what we are going to do is we are first going to say, what are the factors of 24? When you're doing this, I want you to ignore the signs. So factors of 24 is going to be 1 times 24. How do you do this? You are simply going to put it in your calculator and say, what is 24 divided by 2? That is 2 times 12. What is 24 divided by 3? Let's see, that is 3 times 8. What is 24 divided by 4? That is 4 times 6. What is 24 divided by 5? That's a decimal. I don't write it. What is 24 divided by 6? That is 6 times 4. Now remember, when you get to this point where you are repeating numbers, 6 and 6, 4 and 4, when you get to that point, I want you to stop. So that here is where you stop. Okay, that is your stop line. Okay, so you're done with step number 1, factorizing. Now we're going to do step number 2. And for step number 2, we are going to add plus or minus. And what do we want to get? You are looking for the number 5. Again, I want you to ignore the signs. Now, the only reason why you can ignore the signs is because step 3 is only on the signs. So what are you going to do? You're going to say 24 plus minus 1, 12 plus minus 2, 8 plus minus 3, and 6 plus minus 4. Remember, this is where we stop. So let's quickly answer those questions. Your first answer is going to be a plus answer, and the second one is if you subtract. 24 plus 1, 25. 24 minus 1, 23. Those are your two answers. 12 plus 2 is 14, or 10 if you subtract. 8 plus 3 is 11, or 5. And 6 plus 4 is 10, or 2. Now, look for the answer we are looking for. We want 5. If you look at your answers over here, there's your 5. Since that's your 5, it means we're going to use 8 and 3. What does this mean? It means, if we go back to our brackets, this is going to be x and x. We now know we can put an 8 and a 3 in there. What we don't know is what signs do we use. So now step number 3 in this whole episode is to get the correct signs. Now for the signs, you're going to test twice. Test number 1 is going to be an addition or subtraction, and what you're looking for is -5. And then test number 2 is going to be a multiplication, and what you're looking for is -24. Okay, so let's test our first one. We have 8 and 3. So if I say 8 plus 3, that gives me 11. No, I don't want that. If I say 8 minus 3, that gives me 5. But that's +5, and I want -5. So if I say -8, okay, let's move this. If I say -8 plus 3, that gives me -5. Hip hip hooray, I found what I wanted. I want -8 and plus 3. But I need to check if that's correct. So to check, I'm now going to multiply. And when I multiply, I want -24. So I take these ones and I'm going to say -8 multiplied with +3, and that gives me -24. So now I am sure it works there, it works there. That's the correct answer. So it's -8 and +3. I really hope that this made sense to you. Let's do another one that's a little bit more difficult. So how about this sum, where we can say, what if we said -4x squared plus 20x plus 24. Now I want you to factorize, right? First thing I want you to do, whenever you start anything with Factorize, you're going to look for the highest common factor. But before you do that, I want you to do the change sign rule. And the reason why is because I have a minus in front of the first term. So I want you to change the sign by changing that one, and that one. So there's going to be 3 in my bracket. And then outside, I want you to change it as well. So I want you to take minus out, which means the first one must be plus, the second one minus, and the third one minus. So everything else stays the same, 20x and 24. Now that I've done that, I'm actually going to go ahead and do the highest common factor. So 20 does divide by 4. 20 is 4 times 5. And 24 should be 4 times 6. So what is the highest common factor? It is 4. So I'm going to take out that 4 out. I have -4 on the outside. In the bracket, I have x squared minus 5x minus 6. That's awesome. Now I'm going to factorize this bracket only. So this on the outside is done. I'm not touching it again. Now on 2 brackets. And to do this, the first step I'm going to take is I'm going to look at factors of 6. And I'm going to say 6 times 1. Or again, you can divide. 6 divided by 2 is 2 times 3. 6 divided by 3 is 3 times 2. Oh, that's a repetition. This is where I stop. Once I got my factors, I am going to plus or minus. So I'm going to say 6 plus minus 1 gives me 7 or 5. And 3 plus minus 2 gives me 5 or 1. What am I looking for? I am actually looking for 5, which shows up twice. Oh, now I have to check and decide which answer is correct, which is why we don't stop at step 2. We have to do step 3. So step 3 is going to be about the signs, right? First, let's add, and we're looking for -5. So let's have a look. We have, this was a minus sum, and this is a plus sum, right? So let's do the first row. 6 minus 1 equals +5. If I swap it around, I can say -6 plus 1 gives me -5. Okay, so that one works. Or we can check the other one. That's an addition sum. If I say 3 plus 2 gives me +5, but I want -5. -3 minus 2 gives me -5. So that also works. So I have 2 options. Now I'm going to multiply. And when I multiply, I am looking for -6. Okay, so I'm going to use this row, and I'm going to say -6 times 1 gives me -6. If I use this row, I say -3 times -2 gives me +6. So that's wrong and that's right. This is the only option that I have. So in my brackets, I'm going to have -6 and +1. And the rest of it is going to be x. And that is the end of factorizing that trinomial. Okay, so this is how you do factorization, the different rules of factorization. Remember, in your exam, it's not going to be straightforward necessarily. It will be a mixture, so you need to know how to do it. Always go from the top. First do the highest common factor, and then the change sign rule. Or you can take out do the change sign rule and then the highest common factor, depending on the question. If you have 4 terms, factorize by grouping in pairs. Difference of 2 squares, check, 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 check. Don't stop. If you're done, check again. Factorizing a trinomial, that's now going back from bracket squared, going back to 2 brackets. So the opposite of FOIL. And then sometimes you have a highest common factor and a change sign rule. All right, boys and girls, I hope this helped you. I really hoped it did. Best of luck. Good luck in your exams. Bye-bye.